There's only one thing that matters in this life, and it's something we often overlook. Before I get into that, I want to share my story of how I found purpose in life and how I found joy in life and peace and happiness and love and all these good things that we all chase in our life, that we all want, that we all at least subconsciously know that we need. I found it permanently. Even though I don't feel it all the time, even though bad things get in the way of this, I still have this like foundation which brings this. I want to start with my story. So I had a very troubled childhood. My parents divorced when I was about 7, 8 years old. And then my dad remarried my stepmother when I was 10, 11. And so after that point, it was severe abuse. I'm always fearing for my life. I'm always paranoid. I've been strangled once and chased with a knife several times. And many nights I would go crying in my room, and eventually, before I got too tired to stay up much longer, I would get my dresser and push my dresser all the way in front of my door so that my door could not open, so that if anything were to happen, at least I would be able to hear it and wake up and run away. That is how traumatized I was as a child. That's how bad my childhood was. Plus a million other things had happened, but that is the premise of it. That was like the baseline of what my happiness was like. Every time something were to happen in my life at this point, I would always run to my neighbor, who just so happened to be my childhood best friend at the time. I would always run to his family, and his mom would comfort me and protect me and give me food. And eventually my dad would come back and pick me up from their house, because they know where I was. They knew I was going to their house whenever something stirred up and happened. So my dad would come home from work that night and reluctantly come and pick me up from the house and bring me home. And my friend's mom would reluctantly give me over, even though I know she didn't want to, because she knew what she was giving me back over to. My friend's home very quickly became a very safe place for me. It became a place where I just associated with safety. And as I got older, I still saw it as that, but I also saw it as from a different perspective. And I didn't understand why these people, despite not being rich, despite being quite actually poor and paycheck to paycheck and not living the best of lives, they are actually very content. Like, I've never seen anybody like this. Like, I've always seen, like, everybody's either in the pursuit for success or they are in the pursuit of comfort, and they hate their life because they don't have what they want. That works hard, yes, works hard, and like is disciplined and like wants better, but like is content, spiritually content. That like if they were to die right now, they'd be okay. And not many people can say that. That had a peace to them, that like woke up with like a spiritual peace and like radiated that onto other people. Even like though they were Christian, I never associated any other Christians with that. I never associated Christians with peace or love or joy or contentment. Like, I don't see other Christians being content in their life. In fact, oftentimes spiritually, Christians are the most persecuted, and so they are actually worse off to be around than like some normal person. But these people, this family in particular, was so different from everybody else, and so I always wondered about that. Eventually, when I was about 16, 17 years old, they offered to take me to church. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever, sure. Like, I'll go to church with you. You guys go every Sunday. I'll go. It's no big deal. I was very pressed against it, though, because I thought church was just very weird. And I thought Christianity was weird. I was raised in a Muslim house. And even though I wasn't practicing Islam at this point, I didn't see Christianity as any better than Islam. I thought it was just stupid and made no sense to me and was lukewarm and worthless. And the people that practice it are just dumb. I don't know. I just didn't respect them very much, especially since Islam gives off the appearance of being more disciplined and regimented, and like there's just more to it. There's more, at least on the surface level, there is more delayed gratification involved with Islam. I saw that and I was like, okay, well, I'll go to church. And so I went to church. It was fine. I don't remember my first ever time going to church. I really don't. Pretty sure the first couple times I fell asleep in church. Actually, well, it wasn't long after that. It was a few months after that of going to church where I got invited with my best friend to go to a men's retreat for that same church, and I was like, okay, sure, why not? I'll do it. I ended up going to the men's retreat, and this men's retreat was very special because it had a lot of brotherhood and it taught me a lot of lessons. And eventually my father found out that I was going to church, and he told my stepmother. Now, my stepmother was away on vacation. She was in Jordan, and so she wasn't going to be back for another month or two. She basically said to my dad that if he is still in the house by the time that I get back, I'm going to kill him. Judging by her history, I knew that she was serious about that. At least it is a very serious threat to make. I was like, okay, I'll leave. So I started packing my things, and I left, and I planned to be homeless living in my car. That same friend, his mom, took me in. So I went to live with them. Still wasn't really resonating with Christianity very much. I didn't understand Jesus. I didn't understand the Trinity. I didn't understand any of these things. I was like, is this really like a thing? Like, is this not some fairy tale? This is still kind of a fairy tale to me. And so while some things have resonated with me, I haven't had like the spiritual like connection with God. I haven't like wanted to live with God quite yet. Eventually I decided to leave their house after quitting college. I was doing college and I dropped out, and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna burden them anymore. I'm just gonna live on my own. And also my best friend was moving out too, so I was like, I'm not gonna live with my friend's parents without him living there. It's just weird, you know? So I moved out, and then so now I am living in my car, the same car that I'm doing this video in. I put a sleeping bag in the back, and I told myself I was gonna travel around, do DoorDash and Uber, and live life on the road, and cook my meals on a little portable stove, and just live my life and travel and hike and be alone. And it's very interesting because when you're living that kind of life, it's almost like you're closer to God, because you have less ties to the real world, less ties to this dark fallen world that we live in, this like sinful, like evil world. There's more ways for God to reach you because you're less tied to the world and the bad things in the world and the bad people and the voices and the demons. And so I was very, very close to God. Now, this is not realistic. I'm not saying go live like this, because even though it is more spiritual and you do feel God more, and you will be able to reach God more, and you'll literally be more happy and more at peace because you have less responsibilities and less things to worry about. So you will feel better, but it's just not realistic. We can't just be living this nomad lifestyle necessarily, especially if we have kids and a family. We can't just be doing that. That's very disrespectful to the people that rely on you. And so it's not a realistic lifestyle by any means, but it is a happier one. It is a more peaceful one. It is a one that's closer to God and the natural way of life that we're supposed to live. We're supposed to be living this way. This is a kind of stress that you actually do want in life. It's like the very like upfront, in your face kind of stress, the survival kind of stress, instead of the acute like mental stress, anxiety, things like that. At this point in my life, I had no purpose, I had no direction, and I actually got quite depressed because I had nobody. And I kind of experienced the flip side of this peace and this like the good attributes, and I experienced the bad attributes because I was all alone. I had nobody. I was isolated, and I didn't have anybody in my life. And a year prior, I was going to kill myself because I hated my life so much. Something stopped me from doing it. That was in my car, in the same car. This knife that I have still in my car, I was going to kill myself with this knife, and I had it to my neck, and essentially I was going to do it, but something stopped me. And so a year later, in January 2023, I was going to do the same thing. Now, I don't know if I was going to do it this time around. I would have the first time if something didn't stop me. It was interesting because I had nothing left to live for. I didn't have family. I didn't have friends. All I could think to do at this point in time was call out to Jesus Christ and ask Jesus Christ for help, and to be in my life and to be a part of my life. And just everything I've learned in the past year and a half from going to church and learning about who God is and what kind of God he is, and the love, the peace, the way he acts, his behavior in the Bible, and through preachers preaching about God, I relied on this information to build what I knew about God. And now I decided that I'm going to cry out to this God in my last moments. And if something happens, if something changes, then I will keep going. Instantly, when I cried out to God, tears literally going down my face because I'm just so emotional. I'm like, I don't know what else to do. I feel like the biggest high I've ever felt in my life. Now, I've never taken drugs, so I don't think it's in the same kind of way, but it is like a high. Like, imagine being high. Like, you've heard the term being high on life. Like, I felt like I was high on life. It's almost like in video game terms when you have like the little skill points. It almost felt like my peace, like skill point or like level of peace was like maxed out, 100 out of 100. Can't go any higher. The love I felt from something bigger than me, God, right, was 100 out of 100. I felt like I couldn't get any more. I felt so much love. It was like pouring out, and it made me want to cry because like something loves me so much. Why does this thing love me so much? And it made me want to cry. Joy, contentment in life, just weirdly being content with your life, something that most of us don't experience. I don't experience it because I'm burdened by this purpose to like share this what happened, to share like this life-altering thing with the world, to like wake people up to the truth. I am burdened with this, so I don't even feel this contentment anymore. But this contentment I felt in this moment, 100 out of 100, like maximum anything I could feel. The joy, I'm talking like I was so joyful and so happy as a result of this experience, because of this experience, I'm telling you, it's like a spiritual thing. I felt so much happiness that I was laughing and smiling like for no reason. I would just be driving, listening to like Christian music and worship music or just any music and just looking at the trees and looking at the rain or the sky. I would be looking at the squirrel running across the grass or the fence and just be laughing and smiling because it's a squirrel and it's alive and it's living its own life, and it's like it's so spiritual. It was so peaceful. And like, I don't know how else to explain this to you. Cause you just have to feel it. Like, you don't know that this is possible for you. You don't know that this joy, this peace, this happiness, this contentment, this purity. I felt so pure inside, like as if I wasn't addicted to porn like a year before that. I felt so pure, so innocent, so just like content in life. And it's like, it's just something you have to experience to know that it even exists in this world. It was better than any dream I ever had, any lucid dream. I felt it when I cried out to Jesus Christ. And yes, it diminished over time because essentially, just not to get into the spiritual stuff, but you do the bad habits, even at a small, tiny level, even something just super minute and like tiny, and it's still going to be a downward trajectory in terms of your mental, spiritual health, physical health. I started going down, and then, I had my drop off, and then I'm getting better now. But a lot of our paths look like this. I mean, it's just up and down because we serve God and then we don't, and we pray a lot and then we don't, and we're far removed from the world and influences of the world. We're not being influenced by darkness and people around us, and then yes, we are being influenced by people around us. So, and a lot of times we don't realize the bad things we're doing because it's so like small. And my life is now based around this experience that I had with this God when I cried out to him. I know this is the thing that changed my life forever. Even if I go through bad times and bad periods and bad things happen to me and I get mentally unhealthy because of my habits and I feel spiritually distant from God because of my habits, it's like I still know about this first love that I had. I still know about this experience I had. And so how can I not share this with you? How can I not share with the world what saved my life quite literally from suicide, from mental health, from depression, from sabotaging myself, from hurting myself, from doing something I would regret, from living a shallow life, no purpose, no meaning, no direction. You might be thinking, oh, how is God going to solve my problems? How is God going to make me happy? How is God going to make me feel purpose? How is God going to make me get a woman in my life? Like, the funny thing is, all those things came to me when I was following God truly. When I was close to God, I found the woman that I'm going to marry soon, my fiance. And I see that in other people too. Other people get closer to Christianity and they start praying a lot, and all of a sudden they're finding their wife and they get married and they have kids and they're happy. You have to trust God, this like being this creator for like these good things that you want. But I'm telling you, even if you don't get the things, even if you live the absolute worst life, even if you're homeless for the rest of your life, I'm telling you, I've been homeless. I can tell you for a fact, all the things that you will experience with God are going to be a million times better than any discomfort, any pain, any suffering, any limbs you lose, any bad feelings you feel, any chest pain from how sad you are. None of that compares to the peace, the joy, the contentment, the knowing that you're going to be okay, that if you die, you're going to be okay. The fact that you get to go to a place when you die called heaven, where these attributes are like 100 out of 100, true 100 out of 100, not just like what I experienced, but like a million times that every single day, 24/7, because it is a perfect place with God. Heaven is perfect. Hell is the worst, and earth is just a mixture of both the good and the bad extremes, and so we get a mixture of both depending on circumstances and spiritual warfare and all these things. And so in heaven, you're gonna be feeling amazing, like the best you could feel all the time, 24/7. And I'm telling you, the glimpse I got of that peace, joy, contentment, love, purity, innocence, honesty, truth, like the little glimpse, even fragment of that I experienced of this, if I were to experience that every single day for the rest of my life, even like a quarter of that experience, even the quarter of how good I felt, even like a tenth of how I felt, if I felt that way every day for the rest of my life, I'd be so happy. I'd be so content with that. Let alone heaven, where everything is like to the max. It's perfect 24/7. You don't realize how special it is. You don't realize how good it is. You don't realize how amazing your life can be because you've never experienced this extreme before. You don't even know what the feeling is like. You don't even know what it feels like to be at peace and to be happy because you've never experienced such a level of peace or happiness before. You're so addicted to junk food and porn and doom scrolling and like all these instant gratification, cheap dopamine, garbage habits that makes you like delusioned, thinking that you're like feeling good, feeling happy because you're eating the junk food and oh, it tastes so good, I'm so happy. I'm doom scrolling, I'm watching my favorite movie, oh, I'm so happy. It's a false sense of happiness. I'm not saying don't watch movies. I'm not saying don't eat pizza if you want pizza. But like, I'm not saying like don't eat pizza once in a while if you want pizza. But like, I'm saying These things are false. These things are instant gratification, not delayed gratification, long-term gratification, long-term happiness. You're only feeding the instant gratification. You're not feeding the long-term baseline happiness level that you could be feeling every single day. You're only feeding that when you're doing the habits that are spiritual, that are doing the habits that are good for you. When you are delaying gratification, going to the gym, pushing your body, pushing your mind, learning, growing mentally, improving on your mental health and your bad habits, mentally, physically, spiritually, like praying to God, talking to God. These things changed my life. If we just do them on a regular basis, we would feel at least a little glimpse of God, at least a tenth of God on earth. And that is worth it. It is worth praying every day, meditating every day, journaling every day, living life intentionally, realizing your bad habits and your issues that you have and overcoming them and doing better, and pushing yourself in the gym and working out and exercising and running. Like, you don't realize how important these things are because we overlook them because we're like, oh, that's not going to fix my life. That's not going to help me. No, like if you do all these things and you improve and you get closer to God and all these things are so good, and you're missing out on that. You don't realize how amazing life can be. And I'm hoping you get like FOMO right now. I'm hoping you get a severe FOMO because you don't realize how amazing your life can be. You don't realize. I want you to realize right now that you are missing out. Like, yes, you are actually missing out on life 100%. And so I want you to feel this way. And so I'm telling you, God is the answer, and doing God's ways of life, his habits, his attributes, chasing the good things, and having a relationship with him, talking to him every single day, morning and nighttime, making him the basis of your morality and your personality. Like, that is how you reach this level of like nirvana, this level of peace, this level of love, joy, contentment, making yourself so happy on like a regular baseline level that you're smiling when you see squirrels hopping along, or birds flying around, or trees swaying in the wind, or the sun is out, and you're just like, you're so present and aware, and you're like, I just want this life for you 24/7. I want you to experience this because you don't realize how amazing your life can be. And that is my experience of how I got saved and how I found the thing that gave me joy in life, the thing that gave me peace, happiness, contentment, things we all want, love, literally true love. We all want these things, and yet we just don't know where to find it. It's there. We just have to have the knowledge and then chase after it. I pray that you go through this, and I pray that you experience the same thing that I experienced. And I pray that you come to God, because God wants to have a relationship with you. He wants to talk to you. He wants to be friends with you. He wants you to talk to him. But that's the spiritual truth about our universe. This God that created us, our souls, our bodies, wants to talk to us and wants us to follow him and to do his way of life, not the enemy's way of life, not the devil's way of life, not the way of life that makes us feel good in the instant gratification sense, but the delayed gratification sense, the true spiritual fulfillment. So with that being said, I hope this video helps you. This is my story of how I found happiness in life and joy in life and love, peace, contentment, purity, all these things that we all want deep down. And so I love you all, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.